Talking about the Colts, we're excited about Monday Night Ball. We got a lot of work ahead of us in terms of putting together a good plan and readying our guys.
Leaping for the end zone.
To play in front of primetime television audience, that's something that we covet. We show our respect for it by how we prepare, then ultimately how we play.
Hi everybody, I'm Missi Matthews and welcome to the Matchup Show presented by Unibet. The Steelers are gearing up for their third primetime game of the season, a Monday night matchup in Indy versus the Colts. Let's welcome in our panelists and get things started to break down this matchup. Mike Prisuta of the DVE Morning Show and Steelers.com. Max Starks of SNR and the Steelers Radio Network. And Dave Dameshek, kind enough to join us from the Extra Points Network. And guys, in the spirit of Thanksgiving and being thankful this year, we're going to have a little theme throughout the show, which Prisuta, I know you appreciate. So is this a matchup for the Steelers defense that they can feast on Matt Ryan?
You know, if there's a more stationary target out there somewhere, I haven't seen him. Let me just give you a little snippet into the game Matt Ryan's playing now. It's the end of the game against Philadelphia last Sunday. It's 4th and 21. There's 39 seconds left. A field goal wins it for Indy, but they got to get a first down, right? You got to find a way to at least get 21 yards. Well, the Eagles rush 4, and one guy breaks free, and Matt Ryan, all he can do is check it down to the running back because he knows he can't escape one free rusher. Game over. Colts lose. If you give this guy time to throw a short or medium ball, you might be flirting with disaster a little bit, but any kind of pressure, and he just does not have the mobility anymore. Plus, he's playing, well, so far the Colts have used 6 different starting 5 offensive line combinations in 11 games. One guy's a rookie, one guy's a second-year player. The big money guys aren't playing well. They're getting a lot of penalties. It's not a good combination.
Max, I was going to ask you about their offensive line. 2 different quarterbacks that have played, but 40 sacks, 29 on Max Ryan. How do you anticipate there you see TJ Watt and guys like that taking advantage?
Well, I think this is a perfect opportunity, Missy. When you look at Alex Highsmith possibly drawing the young guy, Bernard Ryman, the rookie, he's had some issues this year. The rookie growing pains of a left tackle, right? I mean, I think one of the biggest things that I look at and how his game is playing, he hasn't learned how to bend at the knees. He's still very new to football, being from Europe. So he's still figuring out just the nuances. And so I think that's something Alex Highsmith can take advantage of. Braden Smith on the other side, I think TJ Watt will have a day with him. And then, of course, the big money matchup is going to be Cam Hayward versus Quentin Nelson, which I don't see that. This Quentin Nelson is not the Quentin Nelson of years past where we talk about he's a guy road grader. He's nasty. He's beating people up. This is just a pedestrian Quentin Nelson for whatever reason. If there's some type of lingering injury or something, or guys have figured him out, he has not performed well. And then the rest of the offensive line, well, they're just guys. And so I think Larry Ogunjobi, Chris Wormley, then Montravius Adams, whoever you throw out there, I think will have a good time. And I think this will actually be a great time where we can actually see a 4-man rush from the Steelers hitting home, and guys can drop back and hopefully pick off a couple of those Matty Ryan passes.
I'd like to say, first of all, well, happy one day of stuffing that we get every year. Why in a gluttonous society, why we're only given stuffing once a year is inexplicable to me. But I have to start here by saying, I don't know who the Thanksgiving Scrooge was who put together that highlight/lowlight reel of the Steelers versus Bengals. We don't have time to look in the rearview mirror. It makes me feel for Prisuta over there. It would be like him having to sit through watching his Sparty lose to the Indiana Hoosiers last Saturday. Oh, dear. Embarrassing. But listen, let's look forward now. And Prisuta touches on the bad decision-making of Matt
Let's look
Ryan.
forward to basketball season, Hoosier boy.
We'll get to that. Well, there's plenty of time left for that. I'll say this about Matt Ryan's poor decision-making. It dates way back. I asked him, why number 2? Well, a long time. Who chooses to wear the number 2? And he said, well, my boyhood idol was Tim Couch. So I mean, I think that pretty much says it all about Matt Ryan and the choices he makes related to pigskin. Yeah, I agree with the fellas there. The Steelers defense should feast. Let's certainly hope that they do against what is a mediocre Colts offense.
All right, well, they are under a different head coach, and we've seen a little bit more from Jonathan Taylor during those two games. So Prisuta is stuffing Jonathan Taylor on the menu for Monday night.
They have a new coach. I haven't heard anything about that.
Shocker.
Egregious.
I think it can easily be. Jonathan Taylor still looks like Jonathan Taylor to me in terms of how hard he is to tackle and his vision and his burst. He's averaging 4.6 yards a carry, but he only has 2 100-yard games. Now, he tore up Philadelphia on the game-opening drive last Sunday, 49 yards on 7 carries. Then the Eagles brought in their 2 new toys that they got, their early Christmas presents, Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh, and no more Jonathan Taylor, really, in terms of being a factor. I think, Max, I'm curious what your take is on this, but I would play it were I Terrell Austin. I'd play it the same way they did against the Bengals and crowd the line of scrimmage. That was to generate pressure and try to get free rushers home. I'd just fill up all the gaps and say, where are you going to go, Jonathan Taylor? And oh, by the way, you have that many more guys that closer to Matt Ryan when they pass. And did I mention Matt Ryan is pretty immobile?
Well, I think you're right, Prisuta. I think when you look at it, that 4-2 big nickel was what they were using a lot to get what we call the double A gap pressure. You have Robert Spillane and Terrell Edmonds sitting in the opposing A gaps. The one thing that Cincinnati did well in that situation was they actually brought up Samaje Perine up into the A gap to help protect Joe Burrow from that pressure and to help the offensive line stay on the bigs. I think if you see the same thing from Jonathan Taylor, I would love some edge pressure from either KZ or Millette to offset that, because you lose that running back scanning in the situation. I think that would be a really good thing. So hopefully TA, they got some stuff, him and Flores got some stuff dialed up, and that they can come up with that attack. But I do like that. The more bodies to the line of scrimmage makes Matty Ice kind of melt a little bit.
I like where you went there, Max. Dave, I want to flip over to the Steelers offense and the red zone woes. How can they fix them? And is this one of the games where you think they can maybe get to where they want to go?
A couple of very simplistic, rudimentary thoughts from me on this. One is, I know you hear this a lot, but at some point, Kenny Pickett, I get that the early picks in his opportunities form what I'm sure is Tomlin and Canada and everybody else in his ear saying, you can't turn the ball over, kid. And now this has gotten him a little sideways. He's not pulling the trigger as much, not putting it on his high-end talent, namely Pickens and Deontay Johnson. He's got to trust those guys. He's got to make more anticipatory throws. He was doing that in the first few chances we got to take a look at him. And the other one is, too, he is, after all, what is he now, 39 years of age, whatever he is. I know he's old for a rookie, but he is still a rookie. One read and then take off if it ain't there, eh? I really do think that is his, if not his number one virtue right now in 2022, it's right up there at the top of the list. He can burn you. He can put pressure on a defense with his legs. So let's do it then. It was very strange against the Bengals. He had those couple of designed runs back-to-back in the second quarter, the second of which went for a first down. And then you saw zero of that in the second half. I don't know if it's the QB lacking the will to take off, if the coaches have instructed him to sit in the pocket. But it's a weird ignorance of, like I say, what seems to me to be one of his chief skills right now, is the ability to attack the defense with his legs a little bit.
Prisuta, how can they get Deontay Johnson involved more in this offense?
I'll pick up where Dameshek left off in terms of the rudimentary response. Throw him the football. We heard Ben Roethlisberger talk for years about the profound respect he had for Johnson coming out of the break. He always used to say, well, there's nobody better than Deontay coming out of the break. Kenny Pickett presumably knows the plays. He presumably expects Deontay Johnson to know the plays. Trust him. Throw the football. And when you do, throw it accurately. That one of the real head scratchers in the last game against Cincinnati, that 3rd and 4 after the TJ Watt miracle interception, They had Deontay Johnson stacked behind Steven Sims, ran a little square in. Logan Wilson, a linebacker, is covering him. The pocket was fine. None of the defensive pass rushers had their arms up, and Pickett kind of one-hopped the pass. I mean, you got to be on time and you got to be accurate, and you got to trust that guy. There's a great receiver in there yearning to breathe free.
Max, can the Steelers run the ball against this Colts defense, or is that going to be something that might be a little bit harder for them this week?
I think they can run the football. The biggest thing is the intent, right? I mean, it's not getting cute with however you're going to deploy it. Like sending Gunnar Olszewski on the backside to cut off the end man on the line of scrimmage, that being Jermaine Pratt, is not a good recipe for success. You got a Connor Hayward, you have Zach Gentry or Freiermuth. Use those guys to come on the backside when you're running zone motions and sending your big guys front side. When they were getting back into their mode, especially in the second half, a lot of the outside toss crack stuff was really good. I even like some of the outside zone stuff that comes right off the tackle, because you allow your offensive lineman to kind of move up and in and get to those linebackers. And I think the fits work well. Yes, they do have some good guys in Yannick Ngakoue and DeForest Buckner, but I think you can put two guys on them and neutralize them. The biggest thing is if you let Yannick Ngakoue run from the backside free, and a guy that's slight of size and build, even though he has the heart of a lion and wants to be a cowboy one day, was going in there. 180 versus 260 never wins in those situations. So you have to put a bigger body. I think that was more the fact, though, because of Boykin being out, that he was the next man up. But in this situation, the next man up, there was a precipitous drop off in height and weight.
All right.
By the way, you mentioned Gunnar Olszewski. Has anybody noticed recently Gunnar has been playing Gunnar?
Yeah.
On the nose.
Yes.
Right, a little on the nose, I think.
All right, we have much more to talk about. We are also going to plan a recipe for success. But first, here's a look at your Week 12 opening lines across the league, presented by Unibet Sportsbook, an official sportsbook partner of the Pittsburgh Steelers. If you're in Pennsylvania and ready to place your wagers on any of this weekend's matchups, just download the Unibet PAF app or visit pa.unibet.com. Still to come, as we said, Thanksgiving recipes. We will go through and decide what we want to add for a successful second half of the 2022 season. Don't go anywhere. The Matchup Show will be right back. Welcome back, everyone. Happy early Thanksgiving. We're going to do a little recipe here, guys. I don't like to cook or bake. Maybe you guys do, but we're going to go through the different portions of a meal and decide what is successful for the end of this season. What was that, Prisuta?
I said good one, cook or bake. Yeah, I do a lot of.
Yep.
I'm going to go cook and bake some stuff as soon as we get done here.
Hey, I don't know what to tell you. Anyways, all right, we're going to start with hors d'oeuvres and appetizers. What is something the team needs to work on but is not the main course?
Ooh.
Don't call it crudité, whatever you do. That will not go over.
Yeah.
Veggie tray.
Yeah. Or do you say charcuterie, or do you say meat and cheese tray?
Charcuterie.
I go charcuterie.
Okay, there we go. All right. Well, I'm going to say
an array of cheeses, maybe one spicy, if you please.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to start this off. All right. Hors d'oeuvres, something they need to work on. I think still is going to be pass protection for the offensive line. It's not the main thing. I think they're doing a better job, but it's something they still need to increase on, especially when you're talking about Dan Moore and his progression as a left tackle in this league. He still has to clean up some of his footwork and everything, because he had a rough outing in the second half against Trey Hendrickson. So I think that's something that has to be continuing. It's not the biggest issue, but it's one of the issues that needs to be worked on.
Do you guys want to?
I'll jump in and say that.
Yeah, throw in an hors d'oeuvre.
I don't know. This is more side dish related. You know how some Thanksgiving people overdo it? I think that by purging Chase Claypool and getting back a nice pick for next Thanksgiving and the season in general, looks like it was a successful move. But less is more on your Thanksgiving table. We don't need the green Jell-O. We don't need the stuff with the marshmallows. Let's stick to the core items. Stuffing, mashed potatoes, some good gravy, and turkey, and then that's it. Same thing with the Steelers offense going forward. I really do. I know coming off of the Bengals game and the loathsome flea flicker and all of that, and the jet sweeps that just don't work, and the shovel passes to Gentry and all of that. I know people are frustrated with it, but really, in a basic way, they have to get basic. One read for the rook, and if it's not there, to one of his high-end options that we already discussed, take off, kid, and let the defense dominate. That's what we need to see. This entire season was predicated, just like last year was, on the defense winning the day. Major failure to allow 37 points in an AFC North game in Acrisure, but that's in the rearview mirror. The rest of the season, we've got to see the high-end pieces perform like high-end pieces, the unit dominate overall, and win the day. This is not a 50-50 complementary situation that people keep referencing. That's not the reality of this. The defense has to win out.
Yeah, I'll agree with Max. I'd like to see the offensive line continue to coalesce. That would be a nice appetizer. I think they've made some progress. As Max mentioned, not their finest hour in that Bengals game, particularly in the second half, but keep number 22 headed in the direction he is heading in, and I think a lot of the rest of it has a chance to fall into place quicker.
All right, let's move on to the main course. What needs to happen for the second half to be successful?
Kenny Pickett's got to keep making progress. He's handled himself very well. He does some things that really impress you, like hanging in there against Sam Hubbard and taking a shot to deliver a touchdown pass to George Pickens. But the ball's got to get in the end zone more. I'm not expecting him to be Patrick Mahomes instantaneously, but I want to see him grasp the urgency to make plays a little bit more, play a little less safe, a little more aggressively. I don't know how he's being coached, but if they get to the end of the year and you're convinced Pickett's the guy, that'd be a pretty good place to be. I suspect he is, but I want to see some more in these last 7 games before I fully commit.
Hey, Max, quick question for you as an insider in Prisuta, if you have any insight as well on this, but do you think my hypothesis is right that the coaching staff is in Pickett's ear and said the one thing we must cut out are those picks, and that yields this safer style that we're seeing from him the last couple of weeks? It's good to not turn the ball over, obviously, but the trade-off is not as many downfield throws.
Well, I think it's not necessarily the coach in his ear telling him not to do that. I think the biggest thing is speed up your progression. I think that's one of the biggest things, because if you see it and you look at it again, defenders are already there. And I think that's where he's more a victim of, is kind of being a little bit too cautious. I do agree that, give him 1 to 2 reads and then go. That's one of the things I kept saying. I'm like, why don't you just run it like that? The one that was a 3rd and 9 late in the game, right? He's rolling out to his right. He has green grass. DJ Reader's the only guy coming to him, and I think that he could beat out a 350-pound guy coming off of ankle injury. I think he could beat him for at least 4 to 5 yards, because it's 4-down territory, and you now have a 4th and 4, 4th and 3 that gives it more manageable to keep the drive going. And he throws it out of bounds, and then we have that terrible 4th and 9, and now we've given up the football. So I think that is something I agree with. I don't know if the coach is necessarily saying that. I mean, I'm not sure what Matt Canada is saying, but I don't think that he's saying, oh, don't throw the pick. It's speed up your progression, but he needs to also move more. I agree with the mobility aspect.
It definitely feels to me like it's in the air. Don't turn the ball over. And I think this goes even back to the start of the season when Mitch Trubisky was playing. And where I see that showing up, where I've seen that show up and continue to see, is not taking advantage of one-on-ones. In the preseason, I kept hearing, well, when they're in single high and we got one-on-one outside, we're going to trust our guys and we're going to throw 50-50 balls and we're going to expect them to come down with them. They are not taking, I don't think, as many of those shots as they should be taking. And I think you start doing that, and that loosens everything up as well. I get, where the cautionary tale originated, but, right now start letting it rip, because what do you got to lose?
Completely agree. And I'll just say this. Maybe it's a holiday miracle. Maybe this is pie in the sky kind of thinking, whether it's pecan pie or pumpkin pie or buttermilk. I think the best Thanksgiving pie at the end of the day is a nice warm pecan pie with some homemade whipped cream, if you please. But I think the thing is, this might sound, like I say, like some pie-eyed optimism. I really think that the Pittsburgh Steelers can win 5 of their remaining games, if not more. It's not turkey. We got to feast on some Raven going forward here at least once. If they can split with the Birdies coming up, I know it has not been a satisfying season for a lot of Steelers fans out there. I know a lot of people are rooting for them to lose out so they get a higher pick. That's stinking thinking. I really do believe, call me silly, look at the competition they have upcoming. Outside of the Ravens, they really have a shot to run the table here. And I would not be surprised if they get to 8-9 or shame the devil, 9-8.
All right, well, let's stick with the dessert theme since you went there. I prefer my mom's apple crisp, but that's just me. What would be the cherry on top for this season? Something that you don't need to exactly happen, but if it did, you'd check that box and feel pretty good about next season.
They just hit the nail on the head. Win some games. I mean, you want to see progress. You want to see young guys develop individually and collectively. What better evidence of progress than winning games? And as Dave pointed out, it's not like they're playing the 85 Bears the rest of the way. Even Baltimore, did they not sweep Baltimore last year? Did they not always play Baltimore in a tough AFC North kind of game? I hate that, let's lose and get a better draft pick. Here's a little bit of Steelers history for you. Greatest draft of all time was 1974, right? Everybody pretty much acknowledges that. In 1973, they finished 10-4 and made it to the playoffs. If you do your drafting right, it's more important who you pick than it is where you pick. And in the meantime, I want to see the Steelers win some games and look like they've got a beat on this. And okay, yeah, it took a little longer than we thought, but it's going in the right direction. It's the train's rolling. It's a matter of time till it gets up to full speed.
All right, guys.
All right, cherry for me. Oh,
no,
sorry.
You go. I will not let you pass up a dessert,
okay.
Max.
All right. Sweet potato pie or pecan pie are my 2 options. My wife makes both of those excellently, but it's going to be Najee Harris, multiple 100-yard rushing games to finish it out. That's what I need to see. I need to see at least get to 1, but I would like to see 2 or 3 of those, and I think that's manageable given the teams that we're facing the rest of the season.
All right, we like to hear that. It's time now for our Yins Chat predictive question. Over, under 20.5 points total for the Steelers on Monday night. You can download the Steelers official mobile app and play Yins Chat to win prizes with questions updated daily. Guys, what are you taking here? Dave, you can go first. Over, under.
I'm going over. I have already laid it out. I am officially an optimist wearing black and gold colored glasses here. The magic number, at least before the Cincinnati game, had been 20. I say they transcend that in Indianapolis, where some great things have happened in the past. I think Max Starks remembers those. So too does Mike Vanderjagt and Peyton Manning and Tony Dungy and everybody else there. Let's go get a win on Monday night and roll into this last third of the season or whatever. I agree with Prisuta 100%. I know we can get sideways with let's play for next year, whatever. You reel off 4 or 5 or 6 wins here down the stretch, the vibe will be very different this offseason. The sun will be shining out all offseason as we anticipate Kenny Pickett's sophomore season.
Prisuta, over, under.
I'm going to go the over. I do respect the Indianapolis defense. But the one thing I haven't seen T.J. Watt do yet is hammer the ball out. And if he gets to Matt Ryan, and I suspect he's going to, given the state of the Indianapolis offensive line, you know what's going to happen then? Bad things, man. I'm predicting a defensive score in a Steelers victory. Probably close one, not necessarily a tape they're going to send to Canton, Ohio immediately after the game, but I kind of like 23-13-ish.
All right, Max, over, under for you.
I'm going over as well. Stuff the bird, which is Matt Ryan. He's still a Falcon in my eyes, still playing like a Falcon. So stuff the bird. I think we get the over. I think this offense has found something now, hitting that magic number of 30. I think now that you've felt it, it can start to drive, at least get into the mid-20s consistently as this offense starts to get in sync and this defense starts to get healthier.
All right, I have one final trivia question for you guys, Thanksgiving related, and it does involve a member of the Steelers organization. Who has the most interceptions all time on Thanksgiving?
Wow.
Rod Woodson.
That was going to be my guess. That makes sense. He was out there with Bettis in
All
the
right, I'll
coin
give you a
flip
clue.
game.
He was a
Cliff
former
Stout.
coach.
Dungy?
Dungy?
Nope. Oh, can you guys see?
Dick LeBeau.
Dick
Oh, I
LeBeau.
thought it was Steelers. Oh, man. Yeah, that's
Oh, I thought you meant Steeler games. Of
Take,
course, it's Dick LeBeau.
Yeah.
He played in 38 Thanksgiving games.
I was about to say, he's been in, they get Thanksgiving. Oh, darn it.
Are
Okay.
you sure it's not
Another
still
good one.
Cliff Stout? Because I was at that 83 game in the Silverdome. I still have nightmares about it.
According to NFL research, it is Dick LeBeau. All right.
Wow, that's pretty
Let's
awesome.
have, in 2023, let's hope we can all get together outside of Acrisure for the Thanksgiving night game. We'll deep fry a bird. Prisuta will bring some of his homemade pies. It'll be a grand time.
Get in the kitchen now and start baking, Prisuta. All right, guys.
I'm
Happy
on it, I'm
early
on it.
Thanksgiving. Thanks so much for joining me here today, and thanks to you for watching at home. That's going to do it for this episode of the Matchup Show presented by Unibet.